Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So the New York Jets' second practice at training camp just wrapped up. Now, of course, it is just helmets. It's not, like a full contact, full padded, practice or anything like that. I believe that starts next Monday. So super exciting stuff there. But I wanted to start things off with something that I just found really interesting early this morning that Connor Hughes from The Athletic pointed out. Supposedly tight ends, linebackers, offensive linemen, and defensive linemen all have to wear extra padding. Now, we've talked a lot about this on this channel and you guys have pointed out over and over, it's better to be safe than sorry. The Jets, for whatever reason, have been hit so hard with the injury bug over the last couple of seasons, it cannot continue. It cannot happen again. Think back to the injuries last year at those specific positions. Offensive line, George Fant, Mekhi Becton, defensive line, Carl Lawson, Vinny Curry. These are starters here that are missing time. Linebackers, Jamie Sherwood, Hamza Najaldeen. Think back to CJ Mosley's first year, missed the entire season outside of the first week and the last week. Like, the injuries have been crazy. I want change. I want Saleh. I want this coaching staff and this organization to implement some, not necessarily, strict rules or guidelines or anything like that, but I definitely would rather the Jets play it safe. Let's get through this period healthy. Let's learn a lot. Let's, build the chemistry, all that good stuff. But I want to come out of this process healthy and good to go. Now, we just talked a bit about Becton, and Rich Cimini reported that in the early parts of practice, Becton was laboring. He had to step out, take a knee. Now, to me, it's not a big deal, right? In the slightest, late parts of July, middle of the summer here. I'm from Florida. I haven't been in Jersey in the summertime, but I could imagine it's probably the same type of weather, hot, muggy, humid. I mean, these guys are only human at the end of the day, and this is why training camp is here. This is why guys practice. This is why these teams have training camps, before the start of the season, to get everybody on the same page, to get everybody rolling here. So, to me, it's not a big deal in the slightest. Now, apparently there was a lot of focus on the running game early, and Breece Hall looked great. He was getting a lot of action. He was getting touches, 3 handoffs, 2 receptions, made a couple of nice snags, and this was all in the early parts of practice here. So within the first 30 to 45 minutes, and you guys have pointed this out over and over again, a ton of excellent points here. Joe Douglas, a GM that historically has really valued, he's put a lot of weight in draft picks, isn't going to trade one away to move up just a couple of spots in round 2 to select Breece Hall, a running back, a position, by the way, that we didn't necessarily need, with guys like Michael Carter on the roster going into year 2, Tevin Coleman, a seasoned veteran that knows the system. He's not going to do that if he thinks, he's okay. I hope he gets in a game. I kind of like his upside. No, he is doing that move. He is trading up. He is selecting a running back in round 2. And by the way, there was that report that he actually tried to move back into round 1 to go select Breece, which is crazy to think about. So essentially the Jets got 4 first-round talents here. In my opinion, the best running back in the draft. He's not doing that if he kind of likes him. He is only making that move if he loves Breece Hall. Okay, so I think Breece is going to be getting a ton of touches. That's not some sort of rare opinion. Everybody kind of has that mindset at this point. And I think a lot of fans around the league are really going to be impressed with what Breece Hall looks like this upcoming season. I mean, this guy was a freaking workhorse at Iowa State, man. He got so many touches, for over 1,400 rushing yards last year, 20 rushing touchdowns, had a handful of receiving touchdowns, was an every down back. They constantly fed him the football. I mean, if you guys want a good representation of what Breece Hall looked like at Ohio State, like a good microcosm of his career, check out his last game against TCU. 280 all-purpose yards from scrimmage, had 4 touchdowns on the day, just capped off an excellent career. I think Breece Hall is going to be a stud for this team, and it's awesome to see him getting not only just a lot of volume early, but that he's also flashing as well. So in yesterday's practice, it was all about the offense, right? The Denzel Mims show. Zach Wilson was efficient. He was spreading the football around. CJ Uzomah, Tyler Conklin, getting Garrett Wilson, another guy that flashed yesterday. It was all about the offense, but supposedly today, not the case. Not the case at all, right? There was a couple of splash plays, and of course we talked about Breece Hall, but it was all about the pass rush, right? Sheldon Rankins, Bryce Huff had two supposed sacks. Soloman Thomas, another maybe sack. And the reason why I say maybe is just because it's not full contact. You can't bring down the quarterback. So, everybody's taught to just continue to play through the whistle. It's obvious if somebody gets home and is at Zach Wilson, all you can pretty much do is just tap him or touch him before the play's whistled dead. And then Zach Wilson and the receivers, obviously they're going to play through it. So, to see the defensive line step up here, and by the way, it's not Carl Lawson, it's not Jermaine Johnson, it's not Vinny Curry. These, guys like Rankins, Soloman, Huff, all these guys have a lot riding on this season. We take a look at the interior first and foremost. Quinnen Williams is going to start, get a lot of volume. John Franklin Myers will be switching back into the inside while also having some looks on the outside. So, you look at JFM as just a versatile chess piece on the defensive line. You can kind of mix and match him depending on what the defensive package is, what the offense is showing you. Versatile player. You love to have a guy like that on the defensive line. You could just keep him on the field. But behind those two guys, you have Sheldon Rankins. Obviously with the Jets last year, they lost Fadakasi, so you do have a hole there. But of course, the team did bring in Soloman Thomas, former 3rd overall pick, made by Robert Saleh himself. Okay, so as much as people want to say, oh, he hasn't had the production, he's a bust, he didn't live up to the 3rd overall pick, that's fine. But the past is in the past, and Soloman is still a young player. He still has football left in the tank. He still has room to grow. You don't. I know busts and stuff like that. Like, people throw out the word, and Soloman again hasn't really lived up to being that 3rd overall pick and hasn't worked out on multiple teams. But as much as it hasn't worked out in the past, he still has massive potential, and that gets me fired up, right? I love getting former 1st-round picks on this team to kind of compete, and they're just in the rotation and they're just going up against other guys in camp, because you never know who's going to pop. You never know who's going to just burst out onto the scene. We see it over and over year after year, not necessarily with the Jets, but just all across football. Guys pop off randomly. Guys all of a sudden just turn into beasts, whether it's the system, whether they're just growing into their shoes as a football player, whatever it is. It's not because you have 1 bad year, 2 bad years, 3 bad years, it doesn't mean you're just horrible and you're going to be out of the league. It's not set in stone. You always have an opportunity if you're on a team. Okay, now when we look at Bryce Huff, 2 sacks today. Talk about making a mark early. It's day 2 of practice, and he's getting after Zach Wilson. He's beating Becton. It's a stacked room, right? Carl Lawson, we know what he's going to be bringing to the table. Jermaine Johnson, 1st-round pick. Vinny Curry, seasoned NFL vet, a ton of playoff success as well. It's going to be hard for a young guy like Huff to get playing time, but this is how you do it, by showing out in training camp. Okay, so I'm pleased, and it's always a double-edged sword. Because if the offense does well, then it's like, what's happening on defense? But if the defense is, rolling, right, like today, for example, like the sacks, then it's like, who are these guys beating? Is that a concern moving forward? But at the end of the day, it is just practice. It is just training camp. It's not full contact. So I'm just excited to get any bits of information, any sort of positivity moving forward. So excited for day 3. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.